Let's talk about a word we all think we know: worship. But what if I told you the Quran presents a vision of it that's way bigger, way more integrated into every part of our lives than just prayer or some ceremony? Let's dive in.
No, really, take a second. When you hear the word worship, what's the very first picture that pops in your head? Is it a place, an action? Just kind of hold that image in your mind.
I'm guessing you probably thought of something on this list, right? Things like prayer, specific rituals, maybe gathering together for a ceremony. And look, those are all totally valid parts of worship. They're these specific, really powerful acts of devotion. For a lot of us, that's pretty much where the definition stops.
But here's the thing. In the Quran, all those acts, they're just the beginning. They're just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The whole concept is designed to be all-encompassing. It's really less about an act you do and so much more about a life that you live.
The key term we need to get our heads around is Ibadah. And once you understand Ibadah, your whole perspective shifts. You stop thinking about just occasional acts of worship, and you start seeing it as a complete, comprehensive way of life.
So what exactly is Ibadah? Well, at its heart, it's about total submission and service to God. But, and this is absolutely crucial, that service isn't just directed upward, toward the heavens. It's also directed outward, by serving other people and by actively working to create justice right here on earth.
This chart just makes it crystal clear. You see, on one hand, traditional worship is often seen as an event. It happens at a certain time, in a certain place. But Quranic Ibadah, that's a continuous state of being. It's not just about feeling adoration, it's about real-world action, including the tough work of social and economic justice. It literally permeates everything.
And this idea is captured so powerfully in this verse from the Quran. Just listen to that. It frames a person's entire existence as an act of devotion. It's not just the rituals, it's my living and my dying. Every single moment, from the second you're born to your very last breath, becomes an act of submission to God. Nothing is left out.
Okay, so that's the big picture. But what does this actually look like in practice, day to day? How do our regular, everyday actions get transformed into acts of worship? Well, the Quran gets very specific about this.
Check out how direct this is. Notice the language. God commands justice and good conduct. This isn't just, a friendly suggestion for how to build a nice society. It's presented as a divine order and imperative.
And this is such a profound shift in thinking. It means that standing up for what's right, promoting fairness, fighting against oppression, those things aren't separate from your spiritual life. In this framework, they are your spiritual life. They are fundamental acts of worship, every bit as essential as prayer.
This connection is so important that the Quran issues this incredibly stern warning for people who miss the point. It speaks directly to those who go through the motions of ritual but are completely oblivious to the needs of the people around them. It condemns a type of piety that won't even offer simple help.
So the bottom line is this: your actions and your intentions have to be linked. Ibadah is not about mechanically checking boxes. If your rituals don't actually translate into real-world compassion and kindness, the Quran is pretty clear that they've lost their entire purpose. But then you get this beautiful example of what Ibadah in action really looks like. It describes people who give food to the needy, the orphan, the captive, even when they love and need that food for themselves. And the key, the absolute secret sauce, is their motivation. The verse says they do it all while saying, "We are only feeding you for the sake of God. We don't want any reward or even a thank you from you." That right there elevates selfless service into one of the absolute purest forms of worship you can imagine. The only goal is seeking God's pleasure. That's it. Okay, so as we bring all of this together, what's the one single idea that we should walk away with from this whole concept of Ibadah?
It really just boils down to this. Is worship an event you go to, or is it a life that you live? The Quranic idea of Ibadah is all about transforming your entire existence, everything you do, into a conscious act of submission and service.
So the essence of Ibadah really has these two parts that you just can't separate. First, there's total submission. That means aligning your whole life with divine guidance. And second, there's active service, which means upholding justice and serving creation with compassion.
And that brings us to a final thought, something to really chew on. How would we see the world? How would we see each other differently if every single act of justice and every act of kindness wasn't just a good deed, but was seen as a profound act of worship? Thanks for digging into this with us.